Hey folks, I'm Mr. Hartzler, and I want to talk to you a little bit in this episode about toilets. So most of us use them, and if not, we find some way to get rid of our stuff. And sometimes toilets malfunction, and they're super simple things. I just want to point out a couple of parts of that because I do a little bit of fixing here. So also, I want to note headlamps, amazing. Highly recommend for any DIY project. When we've been doing painting, when I'm working on the toilet, I'm running gas lines. Like there's a lot of little projects with this new house, and it is so nice to just have a flashlight attached to my head. I can manipulate it a little bit. Just highly recommend headlamp. All right, so let's start talking about toilets. All right, so first, all right, there's my light. Maybe it's almost too much. All right, don't mind the paint. We're in the process of painting still, so I haven't cut in close around things because I haven't taken off old fixtures. Okay, so we're in a toilet. First, these couple little brown flakes. We have a well, and that's just a little bit of sediment that's kind of come in here, so no big deal. This piece down here, this pinkish piece, is the flapper. We've got a small chain that connects your little, our handle here through this lever to our flapper. And when the flapper comes up, I'll show you that in a second, there's a small air bubble that forms, and all of this water in the back of the tank, which is clean, obviously. I wouldn't have my hand in here if it wasn't. But it flows down, washes the poop away or the pee away, and then it fills back up. This pipe here is our little part of our overflow. This then helps fill the toilet back up, and this is our overflow pipe. So if this were to keep flowing up for whatever reason, it would flow down through this, down into the toilet, and then out through the pipes that way. So it doesn't just come up, fill this all the way up, and then spill down and make it quite a mess. All right, this right here, this is a little float. If I push it down, simulating maybe the water going down, then watch what happens. It starts filling up. So this piece here, this overflow, it starts flowing down into the toilet where you would go to the bathroom. And it's hard to see, but down here, okay, on the bottom, see that black piece? Part of that is a rubber washer, but then above that is where the water is filling up into the tank here. So it is kind of confusing. Why am I spitting water down this pipe? Well, that's got to fill up the toilet, and this one up here fills up the tank, and that comes from down at the bottom. If you want to adjust this, so you'll notice it's a little bit fuller now because I just pushed down the float manually, but this line, probably somewhere in here, is where the toilet used to always sit at, the water level. And if you tighten or loosen this particular piece here, so if I lower or raise up my float, that will cause the tank to either fill up more or fill up less. And my wife and I try and be pretty conservative with our water usage, so we're trying to have this take up a little bit less water. If we have an issue with maybe it not taking everything down, then we'll obviously have to lower the float a little bit so that we can, raise the float up a little bit so that we have more water in our tank. I want to show you the problem. I'm going to show you the old one here. They're almost exactly the same. And this top one, I had an issue, it just kept running. And you'll see that the little clip that clips into the overflow pipe is a little bit different. The new one is a little bit more Brobdingnagian or larger. The float had a little bit of an issue. I think it started taking on some water, but somewhere up here I have not been able to find it, is a little bit of a leak as well. It just always was running, just constantly running. I happen to notice my well pump kicking on and off periodically when my wife and I using any water. So that's a problem. You don't want your well pump just kicking on and off. You don't want water being wasted. I've heard as much as 400 gallons of water a day can be lost just because of a running toilet. So you don't want that kind of stuff. You want to fix those problems when you can. Fortunately, I'll think around. See this little piece down here? This piece, I just slid it all the way up, and it came off of the main piece that was assembled down there. I'll show you that. All right, so I just threw some of these pieces down into the tub. All right. So this piece goes down through the tank and screws on from the bottom of the tank. Again, some of this brown water, that's just sediment water. That's not fecal matter. And this piece here slides down onto that. It's adjustable because who knows, maybe you have a tall toilet tank, maybe you have a short one. And once it's locked onto the right spot, you take that little ring and you
snap it down. Did you hear that little snap? Okay, and snap it down. That latches on to these little ridges and prevents it from sliding up and down. Again, that little screw allows me to adjust the float back and forth. It gives me, a couple inches there that I can raise or lower the water level depending on maybe the kind of toilet paper you use. Maybe you need a little bit more water, or maybe you could stand to use a little bit less. One of the problems that I have had a lot with stuff like this, so you'll have a washer that goes on the bottom of this. That's a big rubber washer. Helps seal some things up. And then there's a lock nut that goes on the bottom. I'll kind of show you that here. Again, I didn't take this off because I didn't have to. Oop. There we are. So there's a lock nut up here. That's the black piece coming down through. And this is connected to my water supply, which is down there. A little bit rusted, but not a big deal. Remember, just dropping stuff on myself here. Righty-tighty, so that shuts off the water. Lefty-loosey, turns the water on. Flows up through there. If I were to have tightened this lock nut, an issue a lot of people have with plumbing is they over-tighten things. You want to be careful about that. You don't want to over-tighten any of the things. Sorry about the strobe. You don't want to over-tighten things on toilets. I've seen people crack the tanks because they tighten things down too much. I've seen people crack the bottom. So when you underneath this little cap, there's a little nut. And I've seen that down too tight and crack their toilet. That's an expensive mistake. A lot of stuff with plumbing, excuse me, a lot of stuff with plumbing, I at least have found it easy BT, good to go, hand tight, then maybe another quarter turn stuff on, see if it leaks, be mindful of that, keep an eye on it. If it leaks, tighten it up a little bit more, but you'd hate to crack something. So use caution and have fun. Toilets are actually kind of cool. Take a peek at it. And it's not a very complicated thing. And, another show you. A lot of people have a lot of play in their handle. So, where are we at? Right there. This doesn't move a whole lot. If it traveled a lot before it did anything, then you can take this little chain and shorten it up. There's just a little hook on there. I'll show you on this part. So this is our flapper. You take this little clip here and just shorten the chain. Just take a couple lengths down and then clip it back on to the little lever here. And that'll help prevent you from, having to pull up a whole bunch before it actually starts to do its job. You'll notice here, there's a little opening there, a little hole. That is so you create an air bubble. That air bubble is what holds this flap up until there's enough water coming in on top of it to push it back down. So I'll actually show you that. Ready? And flush. You can kind of see those air bubbles that kind of came up out of the flapper. The water has gone down enough that the flapper fell back down. Now it's filling back up from the bottom of our fill valve over here. Our top piece, this is spraying water down into the toilet. And that's pretty much it, folks. That is a little bit of intro to toilet repair and maintenance and what the thing does. So I hope all of you enjoy this day. And today's Sunday, so happy Sunday, everybody. Bye. Make sure you like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more like this. And this is one of my first home improvement videos, so hopefully more of these to come. And give me a comment below if you have anything in particular you want to see, or if you have any comments about this particular thing. So, bye everybody. Enjoy your day. Make sure you do things carefully with enthusiasm.